Hey guys, so I wanted to show you I'm working on Galaxy of Madness issue 2 cover. Um, what I'm doing here is this was the original inked cover. I did this all analog, um, including the ship here, and you can see. I mean, I think all in all, this looks pretty decent. I'm very happy with it. There's a couple corrections I want to make. The ship feels a little wonky because I inked it all by hand. I don't have French curves. I just, I like to work kind of organically. Sometimes that works for it, sometimes it doesn't work for it. This kind of passes, kind of doesn't, but I really want it to be more of a home run, so I'm going to rework the ship some digitally. I also want to move this around. It's a recreation of a panel inside of the book, but it reads harder here at this small image, so I'm going to move this ship out of the way and get rid of the tentacles. So yeah, so all this was inked by a brush. I started using quill pen on certain things, like the details of these hands are it's really small, and I found like the quill, just a old-fashioned dipped quill, allows me to get super fine lines that are harder for me to get with my pens and stuff, that I've been using just as I get older. I don't know. Your brain sort of relates to tools differently at different times in your life. Sometimes it's during different parts of the day, which is often why I'll decide to do something analog versus digital. In this case, all of these Galaxy of Madness covers I'm trying to do analog because I drew all of the insides digital. So I wanted to be able to have something to show for it. So what I did was I selected this whole ship here, and then I cut it off. Then I reworked it using straight lines here in Clip Studio. But that looks still too artificial for me. Like, that is too wonky. That is too artificial. So I'm going to go over this with pardon me, on this new layer. I'm going to trace over these the lines so that basically I can give it a little bit more of an organic feel. So ironically, what I find is that perfection, like these lines are all perfect, and I could put the rendering on it, and it would look fine. But I find that perfection reads to the eye as artificial, and I want this to feel organic and real on some level. So I feel like I need to just put a human touch on it. It's one of the reasons why AI feels weird to me. No matter how good it gets, there's a level of perfection that your eye can read automatically. It's just not quite right. Although by time this airs, by time I put this up for the public to see, that's probably going to change. It'll probably learn how to do imperfections as well. But anyway, I mean that's just me, my own things. I don't like perfect lines. I don't like, I just don't like things being too tight, and you need to be able to read something, some human. It doesn't have to be flaws. I don't know. I like to say that perfection is like the opposite of art, but some people like things to look really perfect, like all the lines look perfect, and the painting or whatever to be as realistic as possible. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different taste. And even here, this still looks pretty perfect, right? But you can see here there's a difference between this line weight and this line weight. I can't always explain why I think that works. Even here, I don't clean up my scans very much. I will leave dust and dirt on it. Um, Sometimes I have to erase because it's too much, right? But for some reason, and I can't explain it, it isn't being lazy. I don't know what it is. It just leave it is in my head. Um, but maybe that's just because I'm weird. I don't know. I think I finished a project called William of Newbury, and there's a lot of dirt on the scans, but I use so much texturing when I'm coloring that I guess it feels like those dust speckles and stuff become part of the aesthetic, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'm just full shit. Maybe I'm being artsy fartsy. I don't like artsy fartsy. I just like to try and be as authentic as I can, which includes hey kitty, cat's gonna come up here, I think. I can't pet you now, buddy. I don't even know what I was saying. Come on, kid. Sorry, bud. Say hi, everybody. This is Roman. Maybe he'll hang out on my shoulders. Let's see. Nope. I don't know what I was saying. I mean, some of these lines that I did in Clip Studio that are just perfect, like here, I'm just gonna leave. They're nice and thin. I think it's okay. Oh yeah, I think I was talking about like authenticity. It's hard to define, to be honest. Sometimes in my head, it's more of a feeling. You know, I mean, I use plenty of like 3D models, a lot of Google SketchUp, and a lot of times with Google SketchUp, I'm doing exactly this. Like, I will print, I'll use the 3D model, which is in this kind of like line frame form, and then I ink on top of it. So I'm putting my own thing, and I'm changing certain things. You know, but I am using a pre-made model, you know. So is that authentic? I don't know, but it feels okay to me, so that feels fine. Yet using those things in a way that look completely artificial feels wrong. I don't know why that is. All right, so here's my original ink lines. I want to keep these. The shading that I did here. There are different ways I could do about this. I could just kind of get rid of the areas that cut away the pieces I don't want to use that overlap in the wrong areas, like here. But I'm just going to go ahead and just re-ink it. Because I think it's actually, it'll take me less time to do this than it will be to go in and take out all the little pieces just to try and maintain the work that I did earlier, you know. Like sometimes you'll do some work and you have to rework a piece, and then you're struggling to sort of maintain the work and the time that you put into that original. But in the end, it's just costing you more time than what you think you're saving, if that makes any sense. It's easier to rebuild this than it is to try and triage it. But I've really been for a while I was just working digitally, and then when I started Blue Book, I really wanted to grab a lot of my analog feel back because of the sort of the image that I had in my head for what Blue Book would be. And now I'm really enjoying going back and forth between, well, for a while I was doing both, really. Some pieces would be not quite 50-50, but like say 70-30 digital versus analog. But now I've really been enjoying getting back into analog again, using brushes. I haven't used a real brush in a long time. I had switched over to using the Kirituke brush pens, these sort of refillable, kind of like markers, but they're brushes, you know. You would have seen me using them in lots of other earlier videos. And I really enjoyed working them. But then I kind of feel like at a certain point I hit this weird dead end, and I just wasn't getting enough variation out of it and stuff, and I realized at the end of the day, go back to using brushes again. And I'm not using any fancy brushes, they're relatively cheap watercolor brushes, because I don't want to chase around the perfect brush or anything like that. So I just kind of use a cheap watercolor brush, and it works for the most part. And I get just more variation. Like with the Kirituke brush pen, the upside is you don't have to dip it, so you can just keep moving. Downside is almost every line looks the same. Now that might also be a plus, depending on the kind of style and effect you're going for, like if you want that kind of consistency. But I like the minutia of change and unpredictability that a real brush can bring. Sometimes that unpredictability sucks because it's a line that you don't want, you know. I've had that for sure. Like, ugh, that's not what I wanted to have happen. Shit. You know, so it just depends what you want. Yeah, the other fun thing, I really wish I'd recorded this section when I did this part of the ship. While it's not exactly what I wanted, I just didn't capture that form. You see how kind of bottle, it almost looks like a bottle here, and it shouldn't look like a bottle. It should feel more like this rocket shape, because it kind of the lines came in up here. But I was really proud that I was able to do this, you know, with one single fluid motion, do that outline. Like it wasn't like a little tiny line like this, like it was like a whoosh. You just got to commit. You have to see it in your head. You have to imagine the feelings in your hand and your arm just before you do the line, and then it comes out almost perfect every time. It's this weird level of like concentration that if you can hit, you can get these like perfect lines, and that's a really good feeling. It's a really good feeling because I'm not good at almost anything else. You'll hear a lot of artists say that in like this sort of self-deprecating way, but it's really true. A lot of us, I think, because we're so distracted, you know, I got to be honest, through most of the day, I'm often thinking about line work or pages or pens or brushes when I'm supposed to be concentrating on the thing that I'm cooking, or why did I go downstairs to get some object, and while I'm getting that thing, I'm thinking about this stuff. So it keeps me constantly distracted, which means I'm often very poor at doing other tasks. And it's just something I had to accept about myself. And it's not like I'm great, you know, like I'm good, I'm talented, whatever, but I'm not, there are some of these geniuses that are walking around, and like I don't know how you can concentrate on anything else because you're so good. So like I just don't mean it to sound like I'm thinking about it so much that, you know, the work is special or anything like that. Like it, to me, the artwork constantly feels like a puzzle that I'm almost able to solve. You know, like every time, every piece of art that I do, every page I draw, every figure I draw, it feels like I'm doing a Rubik's Cube, and I've got like all but one or the two colors down. you know, like, oh, I almost figured it out. Next time. And maybe that's one of the things that keeps me driven and keeps me engaged all the time, is that I, even when I'm really happy with a piece, which is rare, I'm usually just okay with it. Like, I've accepted it. um, but I'm always just ready to do it again, because it never feels 100%, you know. And I think that's a good thing. It keeps me hungry, keeps me chasing the dragon, you know. Shit. One of the things I like about Clip Studio is when you're filling in black, that you can just drag this pen or the bucket, and oh, I've got this on really high. There's a close gap feature. Is it showing up here? Yeah. So that means the gaps that are in between, like if a line doesn't connect, like here, if I've got it set on really high, it won't fill in and stuff. So I gotta lower that a little bit. But I like how you can just, I can go from, oh, that filled in. But you can kind of see what I mean. I don't have any good examples here because all my lines are closed out. I'm assuming that the fuck's it called? Procreate has something similar, I would think. All right, so here it is. Damn, but now I look at it. Yeah, this still has more life to me, even though this is wrong. This shape right here in the middle is wrong. But overall, this feels like it has more life to me than this. And now that said, this shape here was really important to me, so I'm just going to stick with this. I do think I need to even it out, though, here. I really like this this ship. You know, Mags had this idea of a very 1950s Silver Age aesthetic, which isn't something that comes naturally to me. So it's really fun to explore. Shit. Turn it all the way up. Alright, now I feel like I'm overdoing it. Alright, I think that's good. I got that ship taken care of. Alright, let's save. I always save a lot because I haven't had many crashes lately, but I've had them in the past and they suck. So this panel here is from a recreated page from inside of the book. I have it here in a couple of spots. That's pretty lined up. I want to line this up because I'm going to rework this ship. Oops. And I also put this here for Taki because when Taki colors this, she'll be able to see without having to bother opening up a whole other file and stuff. The colors that she used and that sort of stuff. But I'm not simply reusing the panel. We don't want to reuse the panel. What we want to do is to create that 1950s Silver Age cover where they'd recreate panels on the inside, which is a technique to doing covers that I really, really love. I've been doing it a lot lately on like Project Blue Book. I've been using panels from the interiors to deliver sort of a promise of what's going to be in that issue on the cover. All right, so what I realized when I was looking at this, I can't read the ship really well because of this other guy that's here, so I'm going to move him up here. How am I going to do this? Let's see. I'm going to lower the opacity here. Shit, I'm not sure. So I want to get rid of all these tentacle things. So the tentacle thing happens inside the issue, which is great, but because this panel is so small, it doesn't read really well. So I just need to see the ship, which Mags has called the verisimilitude. I love this ship. I never thought I'd create this sort of like, I don't want to say iconic because, you know, it's not even out yet or anything, but like, I don't know. I just really, really like this ship. I'm really proud of it. But it doesn't, yeah, this cover just, or this image just isn't reading great. Alright, I think I'm just going to get rid of all of this and rework. What am I going to rework? This, let's rework this. Shit, that's too much, okay. Alright. Now. And then this gets tricky because there's a certain chunky wonkiness to this because it's drawn so small. And now this bottom part, you know, I have to consider if I'm going to redo the whole thing or what. I'm just going to try and match the style that of my inks from the analog inks to this. Which is just to allow my hands to be a little bit wobbly. Just because I don't want it to not match. Oops. I'm getting there. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and when I eventually post this video, I'll come back to it from time to time, and I'll try and answer them. So down here there's this button called stabilization, and that helps me literally keep my lines more smooth or even. It takes out some of the wiggle and the wobble. Sometimes I want the wiggle and the wobble, sometimes I don't. Definitely around curves, I try not to get too much of the wiggly wobbly, which just happens natural, you know. Okay, I thought so. Yeah, this is a little. My hand was just way off when I was. There you go. Just got to get this circle donut feel. think this is good. All right. This is feeling all right. Okay. Let's try and even this out a little bit. Okay. Ugh. This is weird in here, right? I'm going to leave it for right now because it's going to take a while to just sort of fix everything on there. So let's get into this pirate ship. Space pirates. Literal space pirates. I love it. This book is a lot of fun. Just give it a little cheat there, a little shape that didn't exist in my inks. All right. Yeah, so now the ship's getting blown up over there. Let's fill this in. Why is that even uneven? I thought I drew this digitally, so I don't know why that would have been uneven, but it is. Whatever. Whatever, man. Okay, yeah, so the ship is going to be shooting lasers out of here and blowing stuff up. Yeah, so let's go ahead and just see if I can. This will be the last thing I do. This is it. Let's get that stabilization way up. Let's make it bigger. Here we go. Yeah, I think I just need to get rid of this behind it. That feels right. Yeah, and then I think with Taki's colors, this is all going to come together nicely. Alright, so let's flatten that. Oops. Feels like it needs a little core lighting, a little Jack Kirby-ish kind of vibes here. Yeah, there we go. Done. Done, 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 done. Okay. And I could clean this up because I'm working digitally, so when you get in here super close, you can, like, you know, I mean, I could. Alright, damn it, now I will. Just for the skull. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to go in and rework everything. That's the danger of working digitally, is just makes it easy for you to just noodle something to death, you know. And on a line weight like that, that probably nobody is really going to notice, especially once it goes to print. They might notice it if they get it digitally and they can, like, blow it up, enhance. Okay. Yeah, so this is done. Well, actually, it's not done. But I'm going to leave you here. There's minor stuff I have to do. You can see on the other reference here, there's a zip-a-tone pattern that I want to recreate here. And then, yeah, and then there's going to be like laser stuff firing out of here, blowing the ships up. And yeah, so I'm going to get into that in a bit, but I think this is good for now. There's a little look into some of the process, and this, like, to clean this stuff up and fix it was about a half hour. You know, I think the piece in total probably took me 2 hours to ink. Maybe, I don't know. Then I have the suggestion here for a star field that I'll work with Taki on, and she'll make it all come together beautifully. And there you go. There's a little look at Galaxy Abandons #2 cover and some of the thought process, and I'll probably keep fiddling around with it for a while, but it'll be too much rambling. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for checking out the book. I hope you stick with the series, and thank you.